We've all had guitars that we've sold back in the early days of us actually developing our guitar playing to move on to finer and better things. But very recently, I've been contacted by Gary Proctor, who I sold a Les Paul to. It must have been around about 1990. And he said to me, "Kev, I've still got it. Do you want to try it?" I said, "Yeah, let's see what it's like." A little bit of history on this guitar. We think, but we're not sure, we think it might have been manufactured in about 1988, possibly in Kalamazoo in America, which is the old Gibson factory. It's an Epiphone Les Paul from about that period, but we can't really tell at the minute. So if anybody knows anything different, get in touch and let us know. In 1990, that's when I think I bought it from a lad called Brian in Fleetwood, Lancashire. And I bought it purely because Gary Moore released an album called After the War, and there's a great track on that album called The Messiah Will Come Again, and if you've not listened to it, have a real good listen to that track because it's played with so much passion and so much feeling. It really blew my mind at the time, and I thought, wow, that's fantastic, and naturally thought, what is he playing? But on the cover of the album it showed him with a heritage guitar, and I thought, what on earth is one of those? And you could only see the headstock on the actual guitar. There was no internet in those days, so we had to read things like Guitarist magazine. That was about it really, to find out what people were playing. So about that time, Heritage Guitars released the 150 model, which later turned into the Gary Moore model, which was fitted with EMG active pickups, namely the EMG 81 pickup. And I'm so fascinated with the tone of Gary Moore's guitar, I needed to do this. I got the guitar and I thought, wow, this is great. It had the standard pickups. At that time, Zakk Wylde was playing with Ozzy Osbourne, and he had a Gibson Les Paul custom bullseye guitar loaded with EMG active pickups, namely an EMG 81 in the bridge and an EMG 85 in the neck position. I thought, wow, what a great guitar tone. And I naturally took the Les Paul to my local guitar shop in Thornton Cleveleys, and I had an EMG 81 pickup fitted in the bridge position. I was actively using that guitar in gigs in a band that I was playing in with my sister and my friends and relatives called Fast Exit around Blackpool. And here's a quick clip from the station bar at Blackpool around about that time, and the guitar was actually being used by Chris Chew in a track by ZZ Top called I Need You Tonight, and I'm playing my Kramer Pacer 2, which is another guitar that I let go, and it's one of those you think, perhaps I should have kept that.
Right, anyway, here's the song by ZZ Top. We've done it once before, we think.
So what's she like now? How do I remember this guitar? And to be honest, I can't really remember anything about her, but she's actually here on the guitar stand right now. So here we are. This is her in the modern day, and to be honest, she's an absolute beauty, and I can't really remember anything about her at all, to be honest. I just remember it had great tone. It's a beautiful sunburst finish. You can see the EMG 81 in the neck, sorry, the bridge position just there. Standard path pickup in the neck. And it is better than I actually remember it being. I sold the guitar to Gary Proctor around about 1990, I think. Gary used it for several years. He then sold it on, and then he bought it back some years later, and that's when Gary said to me, Kev, I've got your old guitar back. Do you want to play it? Do you want to try it? And I said, blimey, Gav, where's that been? So he told me where it'd been. And I said, yeah, sure, I want to play it. Bring it over. So he did. And I have to say, it surprises me, it really does. I've got the amplifier fired up just over there, which is a Laney Lionheart 20 Class A head into a 2x12 cab loaded with Celestion speakers. We're going into my DAW, which is Ableton. So it's mic'd up, it's not DI'd in any way. Got a room mic on the camera, so just have a listen to this. And it does sound great, and that is the bridge pickup, the EMG 81. And it does sound brilliant. It does play very well. Now, there's a couple of problems with this guitar, which Gary's already talked to me about. The nut needs reseating, just up there. I believe it's loose. I've not even cleaned this guitar at all, to be honest. It's got the same strings on that Gary had given to me when he dropped it off. Now, in terms of the pickups, the EMG 81 is sounding great. It does sound great. But there's a problem with the neck pickup, so I'll just demonstrate. And that's the problem. And I think it's just on the volume knob. That's it. Who remembers Norman Collier?
Albert, back to the room. I'll keep going. Oh, I keep on. Why is it loose?
Now, Gary has told me that he's going to do a pickup swap, and what he's asked me to do is test this guitar out with these pickups and then compare it to the Cream Tea pickups in the future. So the guitar amp, I've marked it in terms of what the settings are. It's basically just a guitar straight into the amp, and that's it. So that's the natural tones. There's no effects pedals, no nothing, just a bit of spring reverb going on, and that's about it really. But I have to say, this sounds brilliant. Put a mixture of the two on. Now the toggle switch, I have to say, it's not very good. That could do probably changing as well. It's not as snappy as my gold top. And it sounds great. Going back to the bridge, the EMG. Cleans up nicely as well, it really does. Now it brings me on to this pick guard. It was wobbling around a bit before, and I thought, why is it wobbling around? It's become detached, and what I realised was I found a nut on the floor, and I think it's worked loose, and I suddenly realised that nut there, I don't know whether you can see it or not, it's all blurred, has fallen out of this, so I'll resecure that in a bit. So it has got its problems, but this has got the makings of being a great guitar, and it is much, much better than when I remember it to be in the late 1980s. It plays well. I think it just needs a little bit of a good setup, probably take it to a luthier or a really good dealer. But when I look at the fretwork, it's really nicely finished off, and it's not far off the standard of my Gibson Les Paul, the Gold Top. It really isn't. I'm absolutely blown away. I really am. I really am absolutely blown away with this guitar, guys. So this is one of my first sort of really serious electric guitars back in the late 1980s. And I think one of the reasons why I actually sold this was because I was leaving engineering, which is where I worked with Gary, and that's why I think it went. And that left me with me Kramer Pacer 2, which is American made in New Jersey, and that was another guitar which left the nest. It really did. And I have to say, it's a great guitar, and thanks to Gary for sending it over. And Gary, when you take this away again and for the cream tea pickup, send it back. We'll have another play of it. But this is such a weapon. It just needs a couple little bits doing, like the nut, sorting out the controls on it, and swapping the pickups. And this is, I would definitely gig with this. It's just excellent. I've done nothing to it, guys. It's not been cleaned. All I've done is I've tuned it, and that's about it, really. And that's one of those that did get away. If you've enjoyed this edition of Gigs and Guitars, please give me a like. Think about subscribing. It really will help the channel out. It really will. And there is always time of the day for a brew. Cracking.